was like, look at it, ended up there. We had a cottage, you know, me and the missus in a Crickow, and she said, oh, we take this little bohemian town called Hainway, and that's all about it. So we went to, this is 95, and we drove up to this town, and she's going, oh, the King of Books lives here. I didn't even know what she was talking about this thing, or whatever. And then we saw this house, and then, you know, it was like, back in 95, it was when houses were like ridiculous prices, and, you know, I'd always thought that making it in music was Led Zeppelin. I still do, actually, as I go through it. And it was like affordable, and, you know, I think it was just to be sent a Sony loyalty check about 2 weeks previous, and I thought, oh, I'll buy it. So we bought it, and then 2008, September 2008, as we all remember, the banking system, no, that's not bullshit, nearly went down. And I just thought, do you know what? I'm too old for London. I don't like the way the world's going. I'm going to move away from it all. And that's what I did.
Right, I'd like to open up to anybody else who's got questions. I'm sure you all have. So, who's going to be brave enough to ask the first question? Yeah.
Why did you start promoting? Because early on you promoting, that was good money, and you started the label out.
Oh, right. That's a good question, really. I think we were kids, really. I mean, it was like me. It was really the beginning. It was really me and Joe Foster. Dick. It was me, Dick, and Joe. It was our company, but it was like it wasn't really till about 88 that Dick really got his head round and really wanted to be part of it. So it was Foster really, and Foster was always like going, I'm a record producer, right? I'm like, maybe you are, right? So we you know, when we started a record label, I don't know why, like, but we did. Well, I suppose because I'd met Dan and I'd met Joe, and then I thought, well, if, you know, Dan's doing it, maybe I can do it, and that's how we did start doing it. Why did we stop promoting? Probably because we were really into having the indie record label, and then, fun enough, we ended up in that last decade having Death Disco for about 10 years, and I only really just stopped that maybe about a year and a half ago, but we used to put on loads of bands and stuff like that, you know, but I think you get to a point and you just think, oh, yeah, I'm nearly 50, do you know what I mean, you know, like, maybe it's time not to do that, you know what I mean? So, I'm not John Peel, sorry.
Say like 50 years time, you look back at your back catalogue,
Yeah.
which you think will be the record I'll say that was the most seminal record, the Oasis thing aside, from popularity?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I could answer bring any Oasis thing into it. I think it was Higher than Sun, really, because, I mean, Jason McPhail, my friend up in Glasgow, he was in V-Twin, so that's maybe some people might know, but he sat with me for about 4 hours and convinced me that was the best record we'd ever put out, and then I went back and played it, and then went, no, it is the best record we've ever put out. So, you know, but Primal Scream were the integral band to that story, really, you know, because without Bob, you know, we wouldn't have got half the bands as it's well documented now, you know what I mean, I've said it enough times, but really, but it wasn't even just, you know, that he, you know, when McGee listened to this Mary Jane stuff, or fan club stuff, or signing my band, it wasn't even all the obvious things, it was just like, you know, he turned me on to, and him and Foster were the most important musical influences in my life, I think, really. Foster turned me on to the Velvets and Doors and all that stuff, really, you know what I mean, you know, that 60s stuff that I'd missed. And then Gillespie was turning me on to really weird shit at the time, you know, this would be back in 85 for Big Star and, you know, all that stuff. So really, you know, I listened to Bobby's Radio 6 show recently, and it was incredible, because I've kind of like just kind of stopped, you know, with music now. I'm a bit like, I like the Beatles, and that's it. Do you know what I mean, really? And I listened to it, and I was kind of like, maybe I should have kept going, you know, it was great, because he was like playing Eddie Hazel, and it was like, you know, and he was playing for Frank Sinatra, actually, it was brilliant. It was a great show. But that's his path, and everybody's got their own paths, and I think sometimes, you know, if you, I don't think I've creatively got much else to say, you know, and I think I'm honest about it, and I do get slagged off by certain individuals. I won't say who it is. It's not in the media. It's just people I know going, you know, sorry for my language, the way I'm upset. You're an irrelevant old, right? Blah blah blah. But do you know what? Maybe I am. But the bottom line is, I at least stopped, you know, before it was embarrassing. And do you know what I mean? And I think if you get nothing else to say, get off the stage. Do you know what I mean? And that's all. That was my point of view on it. And you know, it's like all bands reforming and all this sort of stuff. And you know, let's hope that I never have to reform creation. Do you know what I mean? It's been suggested a couple of times.
Yeah, in the back there.
This week, you've obviously going quickly to sign
You
off.
just call me out when you treat me
I just walked out with this as Mr. You obviously got very quickly to sign a lot of the acts that you did. How many got away, and who do you regret not signing?
Well, it's pretty easy. I mean, Stone Roses, Happy Mondays, but the Mondays Tony had, and the Roses I never even knew about them. I mean, the thing was, you got to understand, it was such a different dynamic to what's going on now. Do you know what I mean? You go on Facebook and you know you've got like people talking about like bands and blah blah blah, and you know, and it used to be MySpace and but back in the day, it literally was me being pissed, you know, trying to pull some woman, wandering into a bar, the girl obviously not being there, and there's a band, and that was the story. I mean, to be honest, like half of these bands were found in the pursuit of females, basically. Sad, but that is true. And probably on Gillespie's part as well.
Right, Alan, this is a ride-based question actually. Because of your sort of love of Andy and Mark, was that the most disappointing breakup in your whole catalogue, to see how the split went?
I sort of blame myself, really, to be honest, for that one, because if I'd stayed out of the way, they would just kept making these. The first two albums were incredible, and then I started playing the Birds records and
well, that's what I was going to say, because there's a big difference.
Yeah, I know, it was my fault. I mean, it was like I started playing them with Dylan and the Birds, and of course Andy's like, you know, a musical like total head. So he his mind blown by Love and the Birds and stuff like that. And then the next album, I was only playing them because I thought they were good records. The next minute they became Love and the Birds. Do you know what I mean?
But there was still an equal split in songwriting credits.
Yeah.
Even though it was the same type of music.
It's called
even though
Ego.
they were both going.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
It wasn't like one was nowhere and one was.
Yeah. Well, no, they're both really. I mean, Mark, to give him his due, we all should, you know, be as much as Danny. I mean, Mark Gardner's done 35 minutes of incidental music, which I don't know if you know what incidental music means, but that actually means that they phoned up somebody, they went 25 grand for a certain record. Danny's went to Mark, can you do that? And he's changed it from a C to a D, right? And like they've got away with it. Do you know what I mean? You know, so that's the 35 minutes incidental music. But it's great for Mark because it's like he's went from like being a pop star that, you know, biggest sex symbol in Britain, blah blah blah. Like, you only got to look at that film to see that. To actually, you know, doing a movie soundtrack and getting offered others. You know, I mean, I was with him yesterday. And he's still the same dude, man. You know, he's a great person.
Thank you.
You said if you've got nothing new to say, get off the stage. How do you feel? How does it make you feel seeing Primal Screaming or Screamadelica on music?
Well, I think that's such a weird thing. I know what you're saying, right? Bob would say, I've got something to say. So that's to answer your question. How do I feel about it? I never went. He asked me out to on the tour sort of thing, and I didn't go. It's just not because I don't think it would be good. It's, you've probably all seen them, you know, and I've seen it on YouTube and stuff, and it looked great. And the graphics are incredible, to be honest. But my remembrance of Screamadelica is the Plaza in 1991, and there was about 700 people there. And I took my dad along, my second wife at the time, and the whole audience, 700 people, except my dad and his missus, were smashed for me. And like everybody was like punching the air, and my old man was going, "This is incredible! Everybody's so happy." That is the way it is. All went that. It's like, so you know, it was really, that's why. I mean, knowing Gillespie, he'll he will bully me into something, and I will probably be at one of these gigs, you know, soon. But I've resisted it because I want to remember it the way that I remembered it. Do you know what I mean? If you haven't been the first time, I think it's totally acceptable. But if you've got a great memory the first time round, I think you're provoking something that you might not want. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that answers it.